Hey peeps! Alright, what we're going to do today, I'm going to show you how to put blend shapes on an object and then bind it to a simple joint and then constrain a control curve to the joint so you can move it around. But then also I want to add some custom attributes to that control curve so that I can manipulate the blend shapes without having to actually select the geo to do it. And we're going to use the control doc script to do that with. So let's get started. All right, so grab the blend shapes, grab them in order, always making sure to select the master shape last, right? Because this is the shape or the object you're going to put the shapes on, and then it's just to form blend shapes. And you'll notice, hey, look, there they are. Okay. Then your next step would be to bind that to that. And after that, I'm going to constrain the curve, or the joint to the curve, so parent then child with parent constraints, parent. So now when I move this thing, it moves, and when I do the blends, it works. Yay! All right, so that's major step one, getting it kind of generally set up. Technically, you could run with this and it would work fine. Well, but it's kind of annoying to have to select the geo every time to get to the blend shapes. So now what we're going to do, I'm just going to hide these so I don't have to look at them anymore. All right, so we're going to now use the control doc to go ahead and add some attributes. One of the things I like about the control doc is it has this neat separator so you can organize your attributes. So that's kind of cool. And then you just grab this and I'm saying I'm going to pick the first blend shape and I'm going to call it stretch. And I like to do a minimum and a maximum of -10, 10. This gives me a nice range when I'm using the middle mouse button to slide around. And it feels like you would want to select the new button, but you'll notice if you hit this, nothing happens. Instead, what you do to save it on there is you hit save. And so then I can just leave these and come over here and go, okay, I'm going to do squash. And you see it automatically updates the nice name, and I go save, because I want the same range. And I'm going to also do streak. So then I'm going to go, yep. And I'm going to put a separator between these two. So it's just going to group my categories. And the next one I'm going to do open. And then I'm going to go save, and then I'm going to do closed. See, I did the nice name over here. Well, if you screw that up, what's really cool, easy way to get rid of it, there's a delete. So you can click on one of these, click over here in the channel box, and you come over here and just hit delete, and it removes it. So now I can say, okay, save. There we go. All right, next is going to be smirk. And then I'm going to do yell. And it makes it really fast. This is much faster. Oh, see, I did it again. Much faster using this than actually trying to use the attribute editor window. So, say, there we go. I'm puffy. I'm going to do puffy. Puffy. I'm just hitting tab to get to the next thing there. That's what I kept going to do. All right, so now I've got all of the attributes set up here. Now comes the arduous part, and we can, get out of the control doc. And now we really have to go to do set-driven keys. And so this is where it gets a little slow. So we got to go to animation, and we go to key, and we go to set-driven key set. Now, when you have something selected like this, and you run set-driven key, it automatically puts it in the driven position. So the way you want to think about this is these controls are driving or changing or driving the shape. So the shape control. So that means that the controller is the driver, right? So I want to put this actually in the driver's position. So I want to put it in the driver position. And then I need to get the shapes to be, the blend shapes to be in the driven position. Well, this is located on the ball itself. So if I select the ball and I go, oh, okay, load driven, you're like, wait a minute, nothing showed up. Well, that's because I had selected the transform node of the baseball and not the shape node or the inputs. So the easiest way to do that is to come over here and just select in the channel box and then hit load driven again. And now you'll notice, oh, there they are right there. There's all of them. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this with one of them, maybe two, so that you can see it. I'm not gonna actually set the whole thing up, so you don't have to watch me do that. So here you go. So the way you set the set driven key up for this is you pick the driver, and so that one's going to be stretch. That's going to be the first one. Yeah, I'm going to do stretch, and then I come down here and I pick stretch. All right, and I make sure stretch is sitting at 0. And I say okay. So now all I got to do is hit key. That's the default position. Stretch here is 0. Stretch there was 0. All good. So what you can do now is you're going to change stretch to 10. Nothing happens. Well, now I need to change the blend shapes input to 1. The easiest way to do that is to actually open up the shape editor. Here it is. Put it over to the side here and say, okay, stretch 1. So I've changed the attribute to 10, and its maximum is 1. And I'm going to say key. You should see a little red dot show up there. Now what's nice about this is you should see it when I middle mouse button change, it should change. All right. Next step is I'm going to go attribute first, -10, and then in stretch I'm going to go -1, and I'm going to hit key. Now what you should be able to see is it goes both ways, which is great. And its default is 0. So one more time. So I've launched the shape editor. I've got set driven key set up, right? Ready to go. Now I want to go ahead and do squash. Okay, so I select squash in the driver and I select squash in the driven. It's at 0, everything's set at 0, I key, that's the default. Then I change the squash setting to 10 because I know that's my maximum. And I change my squash setting here to 1 and I key. What you should see when I grab this and move this is it squashes. Then I'm going to put this at -10 and I'm going to put my squash attribute at -1, which it's totally breaking, but that's fine. And I'm going to go key. Now these are like overdrives. So the advantage of doing the negative is, you know, this was the shape I sculpted for squash. When you go negative, it's just kind of like guessing, or it's trying to do the inverse of that shape. So you can get a little, you know, like kind of a bonus shape for free by doing this kind of overdrive in the negative, which can be really useful or helpful. All right, so that's how you set up the controls on the rig and put the attributes so that you can drive them. Hopefully that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions.